What's up, guys? This is Bolt Struck with Duck, and today I'm here with your Chargers Week 2 preseason recap against the Los Angeles Rams. Alright, so getting into this recap, the first thing I want to mention is while we did play a lot of starters, no Joey Bosa, no Khalil Mack. So this is particularly important for a couple of reasons. One, our defensive coordinator, Jesse Minter, likes to blitz a lot. So what that means is if we're blitzing a lot, but we don't have our two best edge rushers, it's very hard to play defensive coverage, right? If your blitzes aren't as effective as they typically would be. Also, Joey Bosa, very underrated run defender. Just want to shout that out. So I know early in the game, our run defense didn't look great. Our pass defense was fine during the game, but I think that's important to point out that we didn't have our two best edge rushers, especially given the context of the scheme that Jesse Minter likes to run. Playing Stetson Bennett, seeing how he looked against the Cowboys the week before, he threw 4 interceptions. I would have liked to see them disrupt him a bit more. You know, he looked a little calm. Again, hopefully that's just the fact that we didn't have Khalil Mack, Joey Bosa out there, but especially the first half of the game, you know, I would have liked to see more picks. They did do a good job limiting, they only had the 2 field goals in the first half, so limiting big plays from Stetson Bennett, but I would have liked to see some picks on him. Another important note is that Sean McVay was not coaching. So they had one of their assistant coaches, Aubrey Pleasant, head coach, which this, just by the way, shout out Sean McVay. This is a very cool thing. So early in McVay's career with the Titans, he had the opportunity to head coach a preseason game. So he was paying it forward. Aubrey Pleasant has over 15 years of coaching experience from high school, college, and NFL, and has never had the opportunity to be a head coach. And apparently he was very emotional, very, very happy when he got the news. So just shout out Sean McVay. I think that's just an awesome thing to do, right? Great coordinators get overlooked all the time because they don't have head coaching experience, like an Eric Bieniemy for the Chiefs, for example. So just really cool of him. And so now just getting into kind of the more of the Chargers aspect of the game, getting into the offense. Easton Stick is just bad. Which is really disappointing because he's a fun athlete. Like, he's pretty shifty. He's pretty athletic. It's just he's not good at football. I really don't get it. You know, I've heard he's a good X's and O's guys. You know, it's good to have someone athletic in the quarterback room. And kind of speaking of which, it makes me wonder if a lot of these designed runs they're doing with Easton Stick, if those will carry over to Justin Herbert. I know they've talked about using him as a runner more. I just wonder if the frequency will be the same. You know, I wonder if they're using Easton Stick as if they were to use Justin Herbert, or if they specifically have a game plan for Easton Stick versus Justin Herbert. Especially, it seemed like Easton Stick rolled out a lot. I'm not sure if that was designed or not. But one of my frustrations last year is why they didn't have more designed rollouts for Herbert. If you guys remember that Giants pass, I mean, Herbert is on the money when he rolls out. So I don't get why they don't do it more, because then, you know, he has the cannon. He can make the cross-body throws 60 yards downfield if he needs to. Plus, he's shifty enough to get out of the pocket, evade some defenders like we saw him do with Max Crosby last year. Plus, he can run. I just think it gives the offense more dimension. So I would love to see more rollouts for Herbert this year. Another thing I noticed early on in the game is Kimani Vidal, one of our later round running back picks. He looks like Eckler, right? Especially because he's number 30. Pretty small, stocky guy. You know, I had to check my eyes a couple times. He seems very, very shifty. Plus, when you're low to the ground like Eckler. I did notice, I think his vision could use a little work. It seems like he would bulldoze into the offensive line. But in the same vein, it seems like our offensive line did not do a great job with run blocking. So it's kind of hard to tell how much of that was on him, how much was on the offensive line. But I think the talent's there. in the fact that he doesn't have to be our first or second back during the season, I think he could be an awesome 3-year project. Be a really good back by year 2, year 3, and just use him as a utility back like the Chargers have historically done with small running backs. That's how Austin Eckler started. Danny Wood had Darren Sproles. They came in pretty early as running back 2s, but so it'll be nice that he'll be able to develop. I think he has the tools. And also keeping with the thread of the offense, I liked how they used Darius Davis. I was shocked they didn't use him more in the offense last year, just with how fast and shifty he is. They used him in some options with Easton Stick. They used him in some screens, which last year, Kellen Moore was throwing screens to Mike Williams and Keenan Allen, the slowest players in our receiving group. So I'd love to see those targets go to Darius Davis. And just the offensive play calling in general, with how run heavy, he's been in the past, our offensive coordinator, it seemed like it was creative, which, to give Kellen Moore a little credit, he was much more creative than Joe Lombardi, who, just looking at, the offensive scheme last year and then just early in the preseason, it's night and day, right? It's just less predictable and more 21st century, which is always good to see. So I'm excited for Darius Davis's usage. I would love to see him become more than just a return specialist. Just the little bit we've seen in him actually playing receiver, I've liked what I've seen, both last year and in the preseason so far. And then Quentin Johnston, you guys might have seen that great catch he made. Unfortunately, couldn't get both feet down, but it was a hands catch, and it was way up in the air, and it's like just Mike Williams-esque, which is why he was drafted, right? It was specifically for this moment, I would assume, was to replace Mike Williams. So nice to see him make a catch like that. And on a tangent, I hate to dig into him since I was just saying how good that catch is, and everyone does, but it does just still shock me with his catching struggles, especially throughout camp, where it's catching has got to be the easiest thing to do in the NFL, right? Other than maybe kicking field goals, it's the only thing you do in the NFL that is not determined by genetics, right? Not everyone can be as fast as Tyreek Hill. Not everyone can be as large as Joe Alt. Anyone can catch a football. And especially compared to that kicking, even though maybe everyone can learn that skill of kicking, one, there's some leg power to it, so that's some genetics. But two, kids don't grow up kicking field goals. They're learning how to kick. Virtually most kids grow up learning how to catch some form of ball. I've been catching a football, since I could walk, probably earlier with foam balls and things like that. So it really does just shock me when NFL wide receivers can't catch the football. Because it is a very easy skill to have. And it's like theoretically, by high school, you should be catching 95 to 99% of the balls that touch your hand. It's really not that hard of a skill. So there's a couple things. One, I just question why he hadn't developed that yet. Why coaches encouraged his body catching style. Did he not grow up playing catch? I don't know. And then the other thing, though, is hopefully that means he can learn it, because you should be able to learn that quick. Because he does, possess the size. His routes seem fine. So it's, if his worst problem is his hands, I think that's fixable. So let's hope for that during the course of the season. And it does seem like he's working hard. He's been hitting the jug machines. We've seen videos of him after camp working on that. So I'm holding out. I'm rooting for him. And then just my one quick thing on the defensive side. I touched on it earlier. It's hard to run blitz packages without Khalil Mack, without Joey Bosa. I thought Daiyan Henley looked really, really good. He just looked fast. I talked a little bit in my week 1 preseason video. He had one of the top 5 lowest PFF grades on the Chargers defense. I thought he looked really good today. I don't know if the PFF grades are out by the time I'm recording this, but he looked athletic. He looked very competent in pass coverage. And blitzing the quarterback, he looked really, really fast. We saw him run over one of the Rams running backs who's trying to pick him up in blitz coverage. And I saw him create a lot of pressure. So he's a nice middle linebacker. I think he'll pair awesome with Denzel Perryman, because Denzel Perryman's a traditional 2007 middle linebacker, just big guy, run stuffer, not slow, but not particularly fast. And then Daiyan Henley is that new prototypical linebacker where he's quick, he can cover, but he's a little undersized. So he's another guy like a Kimani Vidal. He's got all the tools. I'd just like to see him, continue to develop. He'll eventually, I think, put on some more muscle, right, like you would expect with a young player, and I think he'll be a great player for years to come. But those are my main takeaways. I still think we need a better backup quarterback. Again, Ryan Tannehill is out there. But those were my main takeaways from preseason week 2. Again, you can never look too far into preseason, but let me know, what was your guys' takeaway from preseason? Was it something I mentioned? Was it something I forgot to mention? Let me know in the comments down below. Make sure to like the video if you like the video. Subscribe for more Chargers content, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks.